Dr. Reiner, we are live on the KeezerCast. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Hey, we've been talking about it for a while, so I'm excited.
Absolutely. Listen, man, I wanted to get you on the podcast here. One of the main things I'm trying to tackle with my podcast is information, whether that's sports, politics, health, fitness, you name it. We're trying to just give people some information. I'm lucky enough to know quite a few people in various walks of life. So wanted to get my expert in chiropractic medicine on the podcast today. So real quick, before we get into it, just give everyone watching kind of a rundown of your background and your credentials and everything.
Okay, yeah, I have a chiropractic office here in town. It's called Chiro Life. I've owned and run that for the past 10 years. Graduated chiropractic school with a doctor in chiropractic as well as a human biology degree. Went to undergrad at Moorhead up in the Fargo-Moorhead area and studied biology and chemistry. But yeah, been involved with chiropractic since I was little, so kind of knew right away what I wanted to do going into college. And 10 years later, here I am.
So you know a little bit about this stuff is what you're saying, right?
At least I pretend to. Yes.
You're good at pretending. Okay, so walk the listeners and the viewers through a little bit about the science behind chiropractic health and medicine.
That's a loaded question, right? You talk to 10 chiropractors, you're probably going to get 10 different answers, which is probably what the problem is, right? But one topic we can kind of all agree on is chiropractic is ultimately about taking care of the nervous system, right? Nervous system, little rundown, brain, spinal cord, all the nerves in your body, okay? As we're having this conversation, your heart's beating, your lungs are breathing, kidneys are filtering, but you're not thinking about any of that, right? So how is that working? Messages are going from that brain down the spinal cord, out those nerves to all those different tissues, telling them what to do. And that happens all day long, right? What chiropractic focuses on is making sure that there's no interference in those messages by assessing the spine and making sure there's no pressure on those nerves. It's simple, but that's the gist of what, as a chiropractor, what we do.
Okay. So I've been a client of yours, obviously, for going on probably about 5 years now. Yep. I'm a big believer in it. It definitely has a lot of benefits for me. Can you explain a little bit about, I'm in your office probably once a week at least.
Yep.
Explain to me the benefits and the people listening, the benefits of both, the short-term and long-term benefits of regular adjustments.
Oh, for sure. So the idea is with having that nervous system, we want it functioning optimally, right? For example, if you're a runner, when you're out running and your heart rate elevates and we're pumping blood to all the different tissues, we want to make sure that that's functioning at 100%, right? The idea behind getting regular adjustments is to make sure that that spinal cord is uninterfered with and you're able to function at 100% or close to it. Now, the benefits of short-term, obviously, pain relief, right? We definitely know one of the messages that our body sends out is pain, and getting adjusted has shown that we can alleviate some of the pain symptoms. But long-term, it's ultimately about you being the best version of yourself, being able to do the things you want to at a high level without interference. Is truly what I focus on in the office, right? You do a lot of MMA, you're in here rolling, you get twisted and things of that nature. Well, next time you go in, maybe your shoulder, you can't get your arm over your head, right? Because there's some kind of misalignment, something that's not allowing you to do that. Coming in and getting checked routinely, we can minimize some of those issues and prevent further damage from happening.
Sure. No, that makes a ton of sense. So, and you've taken a different approach to this than a lot of chiropractic shops in town. You've got that lifestyle program at your office.
Yeah.
Explain to people what that is and why you believe that that's the right approach for how to treat patients.
Okay. Yeah. So, in my office, basically how the lifestyle program works is we have a lot of people just like yourself that are active. They're involved in a ton of different activities where they're constantly tweaking themselves a little bit. And within the office, we have our program where it's an open door policy. So there's no appointments. You just literally, when I'm open, you're able to stop in, get checked, get adjusted if needed, and on your way. The idea is weekly adjustments to prevent these tiny issues from becoming major ones, right? And yeah, that's simple as that. It's we don't do anything with insurance. It's all cash based. And that way, prices are a little bit more affordable in the sense I'm not paying for someone to bill the insurance and do all these other aspects of a bigger clinic like that. It's literally simple, it's convenient, and it's fast.
So you're cutting out a lot of the BS and going straight to the client and working directly with them.
Yes,
to save on costs for the customer.
For sure. And ultimately, I have 2 young kids at home, and our schedule is crazy the way it is. And the last thing I want to do is have to schedule another appointment, because the first thing I'm going to do, if the little one's upset or something comes up, I'm going to call, I'm going to cancel that appointment. Then what happens is you don't get in for maybe a week, 2 weeks. Now this tiny little issue that was probably really easy to take care of is now a major one, and it's going to take a lot longer.
Sure.
So we're literally trying to make it as convenient as possible, and ultimately making it a place you want to go, right? It's the idea of not having to be there, but you want to. And when people want to be there, we seem to get better results with that as well.
And I mean, talk about the convenient factor. I mean, on my lunch break, I have a half an hour lunch break. I'm in and out. It's not like, when you talk about not scheduling an appointment, some people might get nervous about that to where they feel like they're going to sit in there and wait all day. That's not the case at all. I mean, I'm usually in there, get assessed and adjusted if need be, and I'm usually out the door in 15, 20 minutes.
And that's kind of the beauty of the system. When you're getting checked somewhat consistently or routinely, you don't have as many problems, right? If I haven't seen you for 6, 7, 8 months and you've been dealing with a back problem, it's going to take a while. I'd love to tell you that one adjustment, the clouds are going to part, sun's going to shine, and you're cured. It doesn't work like that, right? We know. I mean, it takes time. And when you're doing it consistently and once a week over the past 10 years of practice, what I have found is once a week is about as good of plans we can have, right? I mean, obviously, if you're in a car accident, that's a different story. But once a week, generally, people stay healthy. They are able to do what they want to do, and we don't have any major setbacks. So sure. It's been pretty cool.
So talk a little bit about you probably see a wide variety of injuries or ailments that people come in with. What are some of the things that you treat in your office? Probably ranging from, a dislocation or a displaced disc. Talk a little bit about what you're able to kind of treat and assess at your office.
I'm heavily involved in the CrossFit community, so I definitely see a lot of sports-related injuries, if you want to call it. But yeah. People come in with all sorts of things: headaches, low back pain, neck pain, and then I get a variety that they have the flu and they come in, and I'm going, "You got the flu."
What do you do about that?
I try to politely say, "Hey, you know what? You should probably be home, not in my office. I'm not going to adjust the flu away." So, right. But we see a lot of things, and the cool thing about my office is really develop a relationship. And it's not just the neck and back pain. It's, listen, I'm running a marathon. What are some other things that I can do to make sure I can excel at that? And, we can dive into a variety of different things like that. So it's, you name it, sprained ankles, low back, neck, headaches, you name a symptom, and somebody's probably showed up in my office with it.
Okay. And I'm glad that you touched on, adjusting the flu away, because we're going to get into some of this here in just a second. So I'm pretty involved in the sports community. I know I was heavily involved in the CrossFit community, now with the MMA community. I know tons of pro fighters, professional athletes. If you look on Instagram accounts of NBA players, NFL players, all these people swear up and down by chiropractors, yet some of the folks in the medical community, they disagree. They have differing opinions on this. Why do you think that is?
Again, a loaded question there, but I think the biggest thing is there's a lot of chiropractors out there. I shouldn't say a lot, but there are chiropractors out there that make claims that they cure different ailments.
I got a list: cancer, allergies, diabetes, migraines. I mean, can chiropractic medicine really cure those things?
We go again back to the nervous system. I seen a lot of cool quote unquote miracle stories in my office? Yes. Would I love to take credit for all of them? Of course I would, but that's not how it works. I'm realistic. What I've found is when your nervous system, the most important system in your body that controls everything, is functioning optimally, your body does a pretty good job of taking care of itself, right, and healing itself. For example, you cut your finger, you put a Band-Aid on it, a couple days later you take the Band-Aid off, your finger's healed, right? A Band-Aid didn't do that. Your body, through a variety of processes of replenishing that tissue, took care of that. Same thing for every aspect of your health, right? So the idea is, in chiropractic, if we get you adjusted, the nervous system is functioning optimally, your body's going to take care of itself and do what it needs to do. Yes, have we seen the ear infections, headaches, and those types of symptoms clear up? Yes, but it's not just because you got adjusted doesn't mean that that was
the exact cause and effect.
That's not how it works. No.
So would you say it's a stretch to say that the chiropractors that are posting advertisements about, oh, we can cure your cancer, or we can cure your allergies, is that a marketing ploy on their part, or?
I've yet to learn the technique that cures cancer.
They didn't teach that to you?
If I knew that technique, there's probably a good chance I wouldn't be sitting here. But no, it's kind of a stretch in the sense of, yes, getting adjusted. Do we see, some of these side effects that, we're definitely can lower some blood pressure or clear up some symptoms without question. And getting adjusted and your nervous system functioning the way it's supposed to, is that ultimately going to make you a healthier person? Sure, yes. To say that that's directly going to cure your cancer? No. But again, the marketing side of things, what is someone more likely if they're looking through advertisements, a chiropractor that says, hey, stop in today, we're going to make sure your nervous system is functioning optimally, or the page that says we take care of neck pain, back pain, headaches, digestive issues, the long list. You can look down the list and say, oh, I have that one, I'm going to go to this. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's kind of part of it for sure. It's a marketing thing to some degree. And that I wouldn't, if you're going to a chiropractor that is telling you they're going to cure your cancer, your diabetes, or that's telling you to stop taking all the medications you're taking, I would be very leery on that. Personally, that's not something I think we should be doing or that we have the background to do. So, but again, like with every profession, there's a gamut of, on one end you got some really, really good docs, and on the other end, not so good.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I mean, you definitely see that in other medical fields as well.
Oh, for sure.
So personally, I mean, you've dedicated your life to this. So how do you feel and how do you respond when you see some of that stuff and you feel like somebody might try to be take advantage of a client or a patient?
It's hard, and I get asked these questions all the time. I say, well, I stopped in a chiropractic office and they said they could help me with my diabetes, and it's, how do you respond to that? I mean, you don't want to talk ill on the profession, right? But I try to have the conversation of, well, there's not an adjustment or a technique specifically that I know of that is going to cure anything.
Sure.
Right? It's again, hopefully when you go to an office, the doc explains what they're going to do and why they're doing that. That's the biggest thing, to make sure that you understand what their goals and what their philosophy is, and making sure that that's congruent with what you're looking for in care. So,
I can speak firsthand as a client of yours. When I go in there, and if I'm not doing just my regular adjustment, and I go in there because my knee got caught rolling or I got caught in a knee bar or something doing jujitsu, first thing you do is ask me what happened. Explain to me the scenario of what went down, and then you do the assessment and you make the adjustment. But you're giving me all the background and the information, and you're explaining to me why you're doing what you're doing. And, if this doesn't heal, I want to see you back because it could be this other issue. So I mean, that's the way you explained it. That's been my experience, in your office.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the most important thing. And unfortunately, I think, and it might be getting back to this again, but even in the medical field and in any office, it's become somewhat impersonal, where we're so busy and we're trying to go so fast and see so many people that, we don't get that time to sit down and say, okay, explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what we need you to do.
Sure.
So I try to do that as best as we can, but sometimes things we forget to say or give you some information. But when you're coming in weekly, like most people in our office do, I get to really know you, and I know what's going on. I know what you're doing on the weekends. I know what you're putting your body through. So it's pretty easy to stay on top of everything that's going on with you and making sure that we're doing everything we can to help you out.
Sure. How many patients do you see on about a monthly basis?
Weekly, I guess monthly would be a lot, but weekly, that 150 to 200 patients.
Okay. Wow.
Visits. So yeah, it's fun. It keeps me busy, and we're seeing a lot of little kids, young adults, even have some older patients too. But the vast majority of the clients in my office are active in sports or activity, pushing themselves in their body, so they're constantly doing something that needs a little bit of a tune-up.
And I think, just to clarify on something you said earlier, when we were talking about the regular adjustments and doing adjustments, that's not all you do either. You do a lot of the stretching and the making sure that the patient is, stretched out and all that stuff. I mean, a lot of the times I don't even get an adjustment, but you're there stretching me out, making sure I'm ready to perform if I'm doing some sort of competition or something that week too.
Yeah, and that's kind of where myself, I've kind of evolved over the few years of practice, in the sense of, I love doing adjusting and what we consider straight chiropractic and focusing on just that. However, I see a lot of athletes that need other things to kind of help out and making sure that we're moving properly. So especially with getting involved with CrossFit, the functional movement has become a great assessment tool for me to make sure people are squatting correctly and mobility and everything is functioning the way it's supposed to, from ankles, knees, hips, all the way up through your shoulders and things of that nature. Where a lot of times we may need one or two adjustments for you, but for you it's mostly, okay, you're rolling and you're doing some MMA techniques that that shoulder or that hip or knee is kind of getting torqued on a little bit, and we just need to make sure that you're moving the way you're supposed to, and that you have that mobility and stability in those joints.
Sure. All right, we got to get into some of the more claims and techniques, I would say. You've got a lot of chiropractors that do just straight chiropractic adjustments. Mm-hmm. It seems like every day there is a new technique coming out, and I'll see something on the internet, a chiropractor's doing it, and what in the hell is going on here? So have you seen the chisel and the hammer technique? And if so, what is Bruce, can we get something up there on, just to kind of show people, look at this guy, he's going to town with a chisel and a hammer. Can you explain? Obviously, you don't do this in your office.
No, I'll make that disclaimer now. I do not do that.
Why don't you do it? Do you understand what's trying to be accomplished here? And just give me your take on that.
So that guy, he looks like he may know what he's doing. So the chisel and the hammer, from what, again, I'm not an expert on this. I'll clarify that, but. What it's related to is like a Thai massage is basically what it comes back to, in the idea of opening energy pathways. So kind of de-blocking so that energy can flow through the muscles and basically detoxify and help some of the damaged tissue heal.
Do you buy it?
I think there's probably a more subtle way to break up some adhesions and get lymphatic drainage and increase blood flow to the tissues. But I'm not going to say that I'm not.
You'd need to see the research, probably, huh?
Well, yeah, I don't think I'm going to line up to have it done. Now, for that video that Bruce pulled up there, that looks like somebody that has grown up in the culture doing that. So I would have more faith or validity in him doing it, as opposed to some of the guys I've seen on YouTube in the States doing it, where they're just hammering on tight muscles. I don't know. I think there's the possibility of damaging some tissue.
Well, you'd think. I mean that looks pretty intense.
Yeah, I wouldn't sign up for that. No.
Okay. The next one. Have you heard or seen this done? Balloon up the nose supposedly helps clear out the nasal passage.
Yes, I've seen this one. What I will give you a little background on, it's a cranial release technique is ultimately what the goal of it is. So basically, when you think about your skull is not one bone, right? There's multiple bones, and we have what we call sutures that can connect each of the skull bones together. And the idea behind the balloon is when you enter it up into the sinus cavities there and you pump the air into the balloon, it increases pressure, which causes those sutures to quote unquote kind of realign, is essentially the big idea, and can also help with sinus infections is what the concept is. There's again conflicting research on this. Some would say that when you do the balloon and they kind of hear like a cracking, it's not your sutures realigning, it's just the mucus, the actual mucus in the sinuses kind of being pushed to the sides, which I could definitely see that. Would it improve sinus drainage? I could see where doing something like that could maybe help if you have a backed up sinus to kind of unclog it and get things draining again. But
it feels like it's risky, right? Like, I don't know, just having a balloon blown up in my nasal passage feels like there could be some risk involved. I'm not a doctor, but
I would definitely, I don't know, but you see a lot of guys, and I know for traumatic brain injuries and a lot of head trauma, they've been using this technique, and the idea is that your brain, those skull bones get kind of compacted down.
Sure.
So when we do this, you increase that pressure, kind of resets the sutures. But yeah, I haven't seen the research to say that I 100% buy that either.
I know former bantamweight champion of the world, Cody No Love Garbrandt. He swears up and down that gives him a better gas tank. It helps him breathe while he's fighting.
And yeah, I could see where it would could possibly open up some nasal passages there if you have some sinus, history of sinus infections. But I love No Love, so I mean.
Take his word for it, I guess.
If he's good with it, hey, more power to him. And again, with all of these different techniques, I'd like to say, I'll use my daughter, for example, Stella. We've been struggling with eczema with her, right?
I have it as well.
What's the first thing we do? Google on the internet. The internet's great, right? We can self-diagnose, self-treat. So we get
WebMD.
We get on the internet, and you go to these different forums, and these people swear for eczema, bleach baths. Have your kiddo take a bleach bath for 10 minutes every other day, for weeks, and it clears up. Well, the first 10 people that do that, it may work great, right? Now, patient 11, 12, and 13 go to do a bleach bath. They do the exact protocol, and they don't get the result. Well, that's the group that's going to go online and say it doesn't work, that it's completely ridiculous, and there's no validity to it.
Sure.
But if you try some of these things, when something's bothering you and you can't get it taken care of, you're willing to try anything.
Right.
And
if it's a chronic issue.
And if you try it and the balloon technique, this cranial release works for you, hey, great. Go ahead, more power to you. Mm-hmm. Just because it doesn't work for somebody doesn't mean it won't work for others.
Sure.
So I won't completely.
Do you think any of that's a placebo effect?
Probably. Yeah.
I feel better.
Yeah. That's truthfully, across the board in any clinical setting, the placebo has always been a favorable outcome, right? So if you think it helps you, it probably does.
Right, changes your mindset, keeps you off of your mind off of focusing on whatever it was before.
For sure, and there's not enough research to say one way or the other that yes, 100% these techniques or these ideas are valid or that they're completely crazy.
Sure.
So,
how about cupping? This is the new fad. I've seen this everywhere. I've never personally had it done. I know you don't do it in your office, but. Bruce, I think we got something on that.
Yeah.
These people look like they just stood in front of a paintball launcher for about an hour.
I've actually done this one.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think?
Thoughts?
I I don't know if there was any correlation, but I had that and bloodletting, and that was like the weirdest dreams I've ever had in my life.
So it
I
gives
don't
you
know if there's any correlation. But
bad dreams. How about relief? Symptom relief.
I don't think like I really felt anything
Any
that was
different?
No.
Well, so when what he had, then if they did the bloodletting, it would be what they call wet cupping. So they actually will kind of put a cut in the skin. And again, all of these ideas and concepts are, if we have damaged tissue, we want to increase blood flow, right? Because what does blood flow do? Blood flow brings growth factor, it brings nutrients, it flushes the toxins and the bad stuff out of the tissue and starts to heal it, because that's the healing process,
Sure.
right? So that's the concept and the idea behind all of these different things we've kind of talked about a little bit. But with that cupping, it's suctioning that skin and lifting it up, and you're actually pulling that blood. They're trying to pull that blood to the surface, because that's the damaged tissue, trying to get rid of the bad blood, so to speak. And then you're going to pump fresh, nutrient-dense blood to the area in the tissue to help heal it.
So is it fair to say that the general thought process behind it is rooted in science and fact? However, the research is still maybe new or not there yet to prove, if it has a significant impact.
Well, I think most of these are ancient, like Chinese or different techniques that have been done for thousands and thousands of years in some way. I think what we're doing now is we're looking at them from a scientific aspect and going, okay, I could see where this would make sense, because we're increasing blood flow, which is going to bring nutrients and heal the tissues. So I think now we're taking an old technique and trying to put science behind it. And again, though, every athlete out there is looking for the next big recovery, the big thing in recovery, because what we've found is
Gain that edge.
Yeah, there's that recovery is the most important part, right? It's when you go to the gym or you're training, you're breaking down your body, and the key is how fast can you recover so that you can go back to the gym and go 110% again the next day. So we're seeing a lot. I know Michael Phelps was probably the big one for what that brought cupping into it. And at the Olympics, everybody saw these weird marks on his back, and next thing you know, everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Cryotherapy.
Whole body cryotherapy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I almost brought one of these to Sioux Falls myself. I really looked into opening a cryotherapy business. What I can tell you is the idea behind it is, when you get in this cryotherapy unit, the temperature is minus 200, something extremely cold.
Right, like 260 or some
extremely
crazy
cold,
number.
and it basically is telling your body that, well, we're in a bad way here, so we need to, what do we do in those situations? Pump a whole bunch of blood to your internal organs to keep them warm so you can survive. And then again, what it's doing is it's flushing that bad blood, and then we're just surging all those tissues with nutrient dense, clean, healthy blood. And that's supposed to kind of help, again, heal tissues and take care of soreness and joint pain and things of that nature. I've done it quite a few times. My experience.
Have you done the room or just the chamber?
I did the chamber.
Because I've heard the room works better than the chamber. I haven't done either of them, but I've heard mixed reviews if you're doing the chamber versus the whole room.
I don't know about that. I can tell you that the one that I stood in, like the little tube, like the chamber that I actually stood in, I did what we call double dipping. So I went in for the 4-5 minutes, whatever it was, came out, waited 3 minutes, went back in and did it again. It definitely, you kind of feel like an endorphin rush, but I couldn't tell you that my knee, I've had problems with my knees for forever, just because I'm getting old partly, but I didn't notice any huge change.
Okay. Versus just like your traditional ice it at home after your workout.
And we're getting conflicting reports on that too, right? The new research shows ice is not the way to go.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do they recommend instead?
Well, so the idea is kind of what we've talked about is to heal these damaged tissues is we need to increase blood flow. And when you put ice on something, it's going to decrease or slow that process down. So a lot of times what we're kind of recommending now and doing more so is we want you to get those muscle tissues firing or activating or contracting to kind of pump blood into them. So you see a lot of After somebody's done working out intensely, what do we have them get on a stationary bike or a rower to kind of flush the lactic acid and kind of cool down correctly, as opposed to just throwing some ice on sore tissue. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's always up for debate. But yeah, I know a lot of people that like the cryotherapy. It's kind of it's a cool factor. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
right?
it is kind of, you come out of there and you're just coming out of a freezing cold chamber. It makes you look a little badass.
Yeah, I was going to say you feel cool. I
Yeah.
mean,
All these fighters, these professional fighters filming it, and it's like, I don't know if that's a psych technique trying to scare the other opponent
well,
or what.
everybody's doing it now. Yeah, look
Right.
at me. I'm also doing the cryotherapy.
Look how badass I am.
But yeah, it's getting more. It's showing up a lot of places. I think we have 2 of them here in town now.
Yeah. Well, I need to get in there and try it, see for myself. I think that's the best way, is probably just to see for yourself if you feel the
For
result
sure.
or not.
And I don't know how the frequency, how many times, that would be what has yet to be seen. What's the ideal regimen
Sure.
to get the most benefit
Sure.
out of it? That would be what we need to find out. And it's definitely a rush. I mean, you walk out of it, you have an endorphin rush for that 10, 15 minutes, but
I can see where people would think, oh, this is, I feel great.
right. Yeah. I'm trying to think December, South Dakota.
Just walk outside.
Convincing myself to go someplace to get really, really cold.
Right.
But
That's not your backyard.
yeah, like where you could just go outside and
Right.
play in the snow.
Right. Luckily, not quite 260 below.
And kind of a side note to talk about that. The other side of it would be traditional ice baths, right? We've seen everybody doing this, and especially if you follow CrossFit at all, a lot of the behind the scenes type of stuff, they show them taking ice baths after workouts. And again, the idea there is what we're trying to do is just kind of bring down your body temperature, right? The difference between the cryotherapy and the ice bath is, after you take an ice bath, have you ever taken an ice bath?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you take an ice bath, you're not going and working out.
Right.
Your body literally has had its core temperature dropped. And with the cryotherapy, we're not doing that. It's not actually dropping your core temperature. It's just kind of mimicking that, where after cryotherapy, you could go and train. Your body feels fine. You're not wore out and tired.
So do you feel like dropping the core temperature of the body then has something that aids in recovery?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, well, if your core temperature is really high, bringing it down is going to obviously help you recover. But the ice bath itself, I don't think is going to, is not what's getting rid of the soreness
Sure.
and that type of thing. I like ice baths. I take them somewhat consistently.
Kobe, 20 years in the league, he swore by him. Every night he did one.
Yeah, I like them just because kind of on those sore muscles and stuff. It feels good, and kind of again.
I think there's a calming effect to it too.
Yeah.
You're ramped up for your workout. You're super sore when you get in there, and you just it's almost like a meditation effect too, because you're just sitting in there and you're trying to focus on just being somewhere else because you don't want to think about how cold it is. So I think there's something to that too. Just mentally, it kind of relaxes you a little bit, which probably puts you more at ease.
Right, and let's be honest, it's a challenge. I mean, it's a little bit of a mental challenge to get into a bath that's freezing cold and sit there for 7 to 8 minutes or however long. You wouldn't go much past that.
Sure.
Hopefully, but
Yeah, hypothermia.
yeah, that's a bad thing. But the cryotherapy allows you to do the similar effect, and then you could go and train afterwards. After you
Sure.
take an ice bath, you're probably not working out right away.
Right.
But it is good at bringing your core temperature down, especially if you're working out in a hot environment. That would definitely be an important aspect of it.
Okay. Last one on my list, acupuncture. So I don't know how much you know about this. I know there's shops even in town here that offer acupuncture with chiropractic adjustments. I've got a gal that works for me, says it helped her quit smoking. I mean, I don't know if there's any validity to these claims or what the science or the theory is behind it.
The idea behind the acupuncture, again, would be like meridians and energy fields and pinpointing those specific places. But yeah, I don't know enough about the acupuncture. I know I've had it done one time when I was in school, because they had acupuncture school at Northwestern as well, and they did one in my hand, right in between your thumb and index finger. And from what I've heard, that's supposed to be the kind of one of the more painful ones. But I know after I had it done, I could not make a fist for.
So what would the benefit of that be? For a guy like me, you know, I do MMA training. I need to make a fist. So
Well, and it might have just been my experience too. But yeah,
Okay.
I don't know enough on the acupuncture, but it is the meridians and the energy fields. Again, just getting rid of blockages so that your body can heal itself is, for lack of better terms, what they're trying to do. And yeah, there are some people that have had great success with it. Again, just because it doesn't work for one person doesn't mean it's not helping somebody else. But yeah, there's not as, I wouldn't say science behind a lot of
Sure.
what we're talking about.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, people swear by it too.
All right, buddy. Well, that's very educational. I have got the next segment for you. We're going to do a little rapid fire Q&A. Get to know the doctor here.
Okay.
You just let me know when you're ready.
All right, go for it.
All right. Off the top of your head, okay? I'm going to give you a question. You just answer as fast as you can, all right? What's your favorite sport?
Wrestling.
If you could only watch one, which would it be? National Wrestling Championship or the CrossFit Open?
NCAAs.
All right. MMA. All right. Daniel Cormier recently won the heavyweight title. He also holds the light heavyweight belt. He claims he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, MMA fighter of all time. Is he?
One of, it's hard to argue. The greatest, no.
Who is? Who's the GOAT, in Dr. Reiner's opinion?
My opinion, till somebody beats John Jones.
I have to agree, Bruce.
What about Demetrius Johnson? How come 125er doesn't get that man lifted somebody in the air and had the cognitive ability to just go and armbar somebody midair? Just decide, you know what, I'm going to do this.
You know what? I'm glad you brought him up.
Yes.
We've discussed it. So I agree from a skill set.
Cleaned out the
and
division.
100%. But his lack of wanting to fight.
Challenging fights.
Yeah. I can't give
Bruce,
him that.
do you feel like that he ducked TJ Dillashaw?
It was a weird situation. He, in my opinion, I think for his legacy, he wanted to get,
He wanted the record.
yeah, he wanted the record, and so now that he got that, I think that's which makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's
Agreed.
And plus, he, who knows that because they'd probably still make the fight, even though TJ maybe wouldn't make the weight. Who knows? But for me as a coach, the thing that I love the most, if you look in the last fight, he's sitting there, and him and Matt Hume are having this conversation. Right, and so Matt Hume's telling him all these things, and what's he do? There's like a little schmutz on Matt Hume's face. He just like wipes it off mid, like boop, and then like in between the championship fight, like just sitting there like it's a Tuesday. Like, here, let me get that little. Okay, we got it. And just like to have that amount of like, yeah, this is just me on a Tuesday is amazing to me. Like that, I think Robel is fairly close to that as a guy here. Like just does like.
We're going to have him on. I talked to him today.
Nice. But he's on. Demetrius is on such a different level. It's crazy. Like that blew me away.
I would say MMA IQ,
100%.
Demetrius,
Yeah, 100%.
top number one for sure. I want to see him face some challenge.
Right.
And there's some killers in the 125-pound division. Benavidez, he has destroyed Benavidez multiple times.
Twice,
but
yeah.
to me, to get the GOAT status, I
have
want
to beat-
give me a super
Yeah,
fight.
you gotta-
Show me,
you gotta
give
beat
him,
somebody.
give him Cody No Love, give him TJ. I want to see that fight. I think the fans want to see that fight, and I think if he does that fight and wins it in spectacular fashion,
Then
there
I'll give
is
it to him.
absolutely no way that you could say he's
Right.
not. I think that's the only chink in his armor, so to speak, would be that,
100%.
if anything.
Yeah, because again, he beat what, Ray Borg?
Yeah, I mean, he beat Ray Borg in probably the most devastating, impressive fashion in 125-pound history.
It just, for me, if you want to be the greatest of all time, you have to take on all comers. And look, he went up one time and lost to Dom, right?
Yep, he lost to Dom in
that
135. He was
135?
135. Was that
Yeah.
early UFC or was that WEC at Bruce?
I think that was early UFC, and I think they didn't have the 125
They didn't have-
class.
there's
yet.
one-
Yeah,
135.
he definitely fits way better than the 125-pound division.
But yeah, no, he's up there.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. So I agree with you. I'm on the John Jones train. I think he's the GOAT. The amount of talent that guy has in his pinky is more than I'll ever have in my lifetime. Please get your crap together, John. We'd love to see you fight. Who is on the Mount Rushmore of MMA? I would put DJ on there.
I'd put DJ on there. Yep.
I would put John on there. So who are the other two?
I know you want to say Conor. I know you do. I
haven't said anything.
Okay. I feel like I want to put some old school guys on there.
Oh yeah.
I'd put Hughes on there.
Yeah. Okay. What about GSP? Would you put Hughes over GSP,
no,
or those the next two?
Those would have to be my next two, I think. But man, there's so many.
No Randy.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, Randy's tough.
Multiple weight. I don't think you can give it to Chuck. He held on too long. He's my favorite fighter of all time, number one. But
Teddy Roosevelt hung on too long too. But
these things you say are true, Bruce, the producer.
GSP has to be on there.
Yeah,
right?
So I think
maybe Hughes. I might have to pull Hughes off.
What was his record, Bruce? Like 47 and
2.
I mean, the guy's got just a crazy record.
Matt Hughes.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Bruce will find it.
Yeah, he'll find it. 1 or 2 losses is all. I mean, that's.
And Matt beat GSP. So
early on though, right?
Falling away armbar.
First round.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
So those guys are. We'll put 5 people on Rushmore.
45 and 9.
45 and 9.
But it's also a different time too.
It's true.
The level of fighters now.
GSP definitely a more complete fighter than Hughes.
100%. But even you talk about some of the champions now. I mean, the level of fighting has made leaps and bounds in some of those guys. I mean, I'd like to say my man Shogun's gonna climb, but I don't think it's happening.
Somehow Reiner's pulling for a Shogun DC fight. I don't know what that does for anybody, but
hey, I am. He's a legend.
He's not going to get past Anthony Smith.
I don't think so either, and no. I don't think the man is he ranked right now.
Anthony Smith,
Shogun.
Oh, I will also look that up.
Like 15. I just want my man TRT Vitor back.
That's the next question.
All right.
Vitor Belfort, as I know, that is your all-time favorite fighter, I believe, right?
Yep, correct.
So he recently retired from MMA. I believe he
retired.
Well, he announced he had a retirement fight or announced that he was done fighting.
Okay.
He's a shell of himself without his TRT, and for those of you watching that don't know what that is, that's testosterone replacement therapy. There is a promotion currently, Rizin. It seems like they are just advocating juicing to the gills and getting people in there to fight. Do you think Vitor should go to Rizin and bring back TRT Vitor?
100%. When he gets on it, he's been on it for like a month. He looks like he's 26 again. I mean, it's impressive.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, I put him in. I want to see it.
I would love to see that as well.
They're going to have Brock Lesnar fight again. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and supposedly he's going to pass a drug test.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Right.
Shogun's number 7 right now.
Ranked 7?
Yeah.
How do I not know that?
Because he's been knocking people out.
Just sleeping fools. I'm not paying attention. All right.
Poor Gian Valente. We miss you, Gian. Come back sometime. Hang out with us.
Man. Okay, Conor versus Khabib. Is it going to happen?
Yes.
Who wins? And how?
You know the answer to this.
I know the answer, but you have a different opinion.
Khabib stomps him for 5 rounds.
You think it's a 5-round decision?
I think it's a 5-round decision with him on top.
I think it's a 2nd-round knockout.
Not even close. Not happening.
We'll see.
Well, how are we going? I'm intrigued by this fight, though. How are we going to promote this? How are they going to promote this? Because Conor's not going to be able to do what he's done after his legal issues, right?
Well, Conor can't break another window in a bus and assault people.
I'm interested to see what he's going to do as far as promoting the fight. I mean, is he going to be the flamboyant, in-your-face guy he has been, or now that he's on probation? He probably can't.
But some would argue that what he did, and for those of you that don't know, Conor was arrested in New York City. He flew there. There was an altercation with one of his teammates, Khabib Bruce, help me out here. Nurmagomedov. I'm terrible at Russian. The Eagle. We'll just call him for now. He was there. He had an altercation with one of Conor's teammates, his best friend. Conor flies there with a bunch of crazy Irishmen. They raid the Barclays Center. Conor personally throws a dolly through the window, injures several fighters. some of them had to go to the hospital. They couldn't fight. Some of them are currently suing Conor, I believe.
Yep.
But what does he need? That's the promotion right there. I mean, the UFC, Dana comes out and he says, "Oh, this is terrible. I can't believe this happens." The next day, he was literally promoting it using the footage of it on Embedded.
He's a promoter, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how's he going to promote the fight? I would argue that it's already basically sold itself at this point. All they got to do is just replay back that footage for a month.
True.
People are going to come out of the woodwork.
The eagle comes out on top. We know this.
We'll see, man. All right. Switching topics. Outdoor sports. Hunting or fishing?
Ooh. Hunting.
Okay. What's your favorite shotgun?
Browning Maxus.
Browning Maxus. All right. Big game or waterfowl?
Waterfall.
Ducks or geese?
Geese.
Favorite big game to hunt?
I haven't done it yet, but I want to chase down a moose.
A moose. Ooh, that'd be great. Speaking of waterfowl hunting, field or water?
Field.
Field. All right. Well, we'll get you in the field. We've been planning several hunts that have never panned out here, Dr. Reiner. So
I've only went on one hunt with Keyser, and it was pheasant hunting. And I think we hunted for 10 minutes, and then we spent the remainder of the time trying to find your dog and your dad's dog that took off.
You're shredding my credibility as an outdoorsman here on my own podcast.
Hey, that's what I'm here to do.
All right, buddy. That's all we had for the rapid fire round. So just to kind of put a bow on this and close this up, we covered a lot of opinions and back and forth on the skepticism behind chiropractic health. I'm a big believer. Like I said, I've been a patient of yours for several years. I just wanted to let people kind of understand, how good you are at your job, or, how in-depth knowledge you have. I had a personal situation come up a couple years ago. I was doing a workout. I was at the gym. Reiner and I went to the gym we were going to the same gym back then. And in the middle of a workout, I actually basically collapsed and got super overheated, and I figured maybe I was just overheated. I need to calm down. I ended up kind of laying on the floor for a little bit. 20 minutes passed by, and I still was on the floor laying there, and I kind of blacked out for a little bit. So my trainer, told me to go home. So I'm on my way home. I started sweating. I started getting, cold, hot, here and there, sweating profusely. So I stopped at Reiner's office and just kind of told him what happened. And he said, what you're describing to me sounds like an issue with your central nervous system. It sounds like you might have something going on, like an infection or something. I really recommend you go, to the doctor right away. So ended up later that night, I figured I'll try to sleep it off, but I ended up going to the ER later that night. They told me I had a migraine. They sent me home. I text Reiner. I told him, here's their diagnosis. Here's what they think. He said, I don't think that's right. I'd really encourage you to get checked out again. So I went to the ER again. They told me the same thing. They told me that there was nothing, super wrong with me. They took all their tests, sent me home again. I called my grandpa, who was a physician for many, many years. He's currently retired now, and just explained to him what was going on. And he said, it sounds like you've got encephalitis, which is basically, and you're going to have to help me out here because I'm not a doctor, but it's basically an infection in the central nervous system that then causes swelling of the brain. Is that kind of the gist of it?
A little bit of a gist, yeah.
And he said, you need to go see your family doc right away. So I went and saw my family doc. They did some more tests, and they got on it right away, and that ended up being what it was. It was an issue with my central nervous system that was causing swelling of my brain. So had I not talked to Reiner and had he not persisted on that, I could be in a pretty serious situation. So I'm definitely a believer. This man knows what he's talking about. Anytime I have an issue come up, he's the first one I call. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man, that was good. It's fun.
Absolutely. We'll have you on again. We'll maybe talk a little more MMA or something in the future, and we'll get you back on here.
I can educate you on that too.
Oh, come on. All right, folks. Thank you.